Have you ever stood on the deck of a boat, looked out at the sparkling horizon, and felt a sense of serene peace? That shimmering blue blanket looks so welcoming, doesn't it? But I'm here to tell you that your eyes are lying to you, because that beautiful surface is nothing more than a mask hiding the true face of our planet. To us, the ocean is a place we visit, a vacation spot, or a highway for our ships, but we are barely scratching the surface, quite literally. Beneath those rolling waves lies a world so alien and hostile that we know more about the craters of Mars than we do about our own seabeds. We treat the ocean as if it's just a wet extension of the land, but we couldn't be more wrong. This isn't our world at all. We are just tourists walking on the roof of a house filled with monsters. The moment you dip your head beneath the water, you are crossing a border into a universe that doesn't care if you breathe or drown. So, take a deep breath, because we are about to peel back that deceptive blue layer. Let's talk about the sheer, terrifying scale of what we call the blue void, shall we? When you look at a globe, you see plenty of blue, but maps are flat and they fail to convey the crushing reality of depth. The habitable space on land is just a thin veneer, crawling with humans, insects, and trees, but the ocean? The ocean is 95% of the living space on Earth, and almost all of it is devoid of sunlight. Imagine a skyscraper that stretches down for kilometers, where the penthouse is the only floor with lights on and the rest is a pitch-black basement. That is the reality of Earth's biosphere. It is not a green planet, but a deep, dark, watery one. We cling to the sunlit crust, completely ignorant of the silent, cold majority that lurks below. Every time you swim in deep water, you are suspended over a canyon of life that has never known the warmth of the sun. It is vast, it is ancient, and it is filled with things that have been waiting in the dark long before we climbed out of the trees. There is a specific kind of fear that hits you when you swim in open water, isn't there? It's called thalassophobia, and it's not just a fear of water. It's a primal, evolutionary scream warning you that you are out of your element. You tread water, your legs dangling into the murky blue, and your mind begins to whisper terrible questions about what might be looking up at your pale, kicking feet. You feel vulnerable because you are a silhouette against the sun, a perfect target for anything rising from the gloom. Down there, the water thickens into an impenetrable curtain, hiding creatures that can sense your heartbeat from a mile away. We like to think we are the apex predators, but in the open ocean we are slow, blind, and soft. The horror isn't just that you can't see the bottom. It's that the bottom might be rising to meet you. And trust me, when the sun goes down, the bottom really does rise. As the sun begins to dip below the horizon, the ocean undergoes a transformation that would terrify you if you could see it clearly. While we get ready to sleep, the real owners of this planet are just waking up for the largest commute in history. It's called the Deal Vertical Migration, and it is a nightly event where billions of tons of living creatures ascend from the depths to feed. It is not a few scattered fish. It is a living wall of biomass so dense that military sonar used to mistake it for a shifting false seafloor. Imagine the forests of the world uprooting themselves every night to march across the land, and you start to get the picture. This is a silent invasion, a massive shifting of shadows rising from the mesopelagic zone to the surface. They are hungry, they are numerous, and they have been doing this every night for hundreds of millions of years. But what exactly is coming up to greet us in the moonlight? Do not picture the friendly dolphins or colorful reef fish you see in documentaries, because the commuters from the deep are far stranger. We are talking about lanternfish with glowing headlights, squid with hooks for hands, and gelatinous predators that are mostly mouth and stomach. These are creatures designed for a world without edges, evolving in a high-pressure soup where the only rule is to eat or be eaten. Some have eyes the size of dinner plates to catch the faintest glimmer of light, while others have no eyes at all, sensing only the vibrations of your panic. They swarm the surface waters under the cover of darkness, a chaotic frenzy of feeding that happens right beneath the hulls of our ships. It is a nightly horror show of consumption that vanishes without a trace before the first rays of dawn strike the water. This phenomenon is the heartbeat of the ocean, a pump that cycles carbon and energy from the surface down into the abyss. It is a ghostly mechanism, invisible to us unless we go looking for it, yet it sustains the entire marine ecosystem. These creatures are the link between the sunlit world we know and the crushing darkness we fear, acting as couriers of energy for the monsters that wait even deeper. It's unsettling to realize that the ocean surface at night is a completely different planet than the one you see during the day. If you were to fall in at midnight, you wouldn't be alone. You would be surrounded by a trillion hungry mouths hiding in the dark water. The water feels different at night, doesn't it? It feels heavier, charged with a primitive energy that makes your skin crawl. That's the feeling of being surrounded by the vertical migration. Why do they do it? Why risk coming up to the dangerous surface where predators like tuna and sharks are waiting? They do it because the surface is where the food is, but the deep is where the safety lies. They are playing a deadly game of hide and seek with the sun, chasing the darkness to avoid being seen by their enemies. They are refugees of the light, creatures that can only exist in the shadows, forced to flee back to the depths the moment the sun threatens to reveal them. It creates a cycle of eternal twilight for them, a life spent running from the dawn. And as they sink back down, they take the secrets of the surface with them, disappearing into the void like phantoms. It makes you wonder what else is hiding down there, things that perhaps don't need to come up at all. As the first light of morning touches the waves, the ocean looks innocent again, the surface calm and empty. The Great Migration has reversed, and the billions of creatures have retreated back into the crushing blackness below. But this time, we are not going to stay on the safe, sunny deck while they vanish. We are going to follow them down, past the fading light, past the point of no return. We are going to descend into the twilight zone, where the sun officially dies and the true mysteries begin. Take a last look at the sky, because where we are going, the only stars you will see are the teeth of the things waiting in the dark. The deceptive mirror has been shattered, and now the abyss is calling our names. Let's see what is hiding in the shadows of the Mesopelagic. Welcome to the Mesopelagic Zone, a place affectionately known as the Twilight Zone. We have left the sun-drenched surface far behind, descending between 200 and 1,000 meters into a world of eternal dusk. Here, the vibrant colors of the coral reefs are gone, filtered out by the crushing depth of water until only a faint, monochromatic blue remains. It is a ghostly, quiet realm where the water temperature plummets and the pressure begins to squeeze the air out of your lungs. You might think you are alone in this vast, blue fog, but you would be wrong. In fact, you are likely surrounded by millions of eyes, all of them watching, waiting, and calculating. This is not an empty void. It is a crowded room with the lights dimmed low, where every shadow could be a predator and every flash of light a trap. Can you feel them watching you yet? In this world of half-light, vision becomes an obsession. Evolution has turned into an arms race of optics, where the difference between life and death is often just a single photon. Many of the residents here have developed eyes that are frankly terrifying. Massive, tubular structures locked in an upward gaze, forever scanning the faint light from the surface. They aren't looking for details. They are looking for the silhouette of a meal against the dying sun. Imagine living your entire life in paranoia, knowing that if you block even a tiny fraction of the light from above, you have just painted a target on your belly for the monsters lurking below. It creates a psychological horror unique to this zone, the fear of casting a shadow. Here, to be seen is to be eaten. So, how do you survive in a place where your own shadow betrays you? You become a ghost. This is the kingdom of the invisible, where evolution has pushed biology to the edge of transparency. Glass squids and gelatinous siphonophores drift through the water like living phantoms, their bodies so clear you can read a newspaper through them. They have dissolved their pigments, hidden their guts in mirrored sacs, and turned themselves into nothing more than a ripple in the water. It is a desperate kind of magic hiding in plain sight. But even invisibility isn't perfect when you have eyes that need to absorb light, leaving two floating black orbs as the only evidence of your existence. It's an uncanny thought, looking right at a creature and seeing only its retinas staring back. But what if you can't be transparent? What if you have bones, blood, and a solid body? Then you have to get creative with the light itself. Enter the masters of counterillumination, the creatures that have turned their bodies into living cloaking devices. Hatchetfish and lanternfish line their bellies with photophores, organs that produce a soft, blue glow perfectly matching the faint light filtering down from the surface. By lighting themselves up from the bottom, they erase their own silhouette, becoming invisible to the predators hunting from below. It is active camouflage at its finest, a biological stealth technology that predates our military inventions by millions of years. They are literally fighting light with light, hiding in the glare of their own brilliance. Now, let's step into the realm of the future. If we fast-forward evolution a few million years, what nightmares might this zone produce? As the ocean changes and perhaps becomes more clouded with the debris of human civilization, camouflage might take a darker turn. Imagine predators that don't just mimic light, but mimic us. Picture a creature that has evolved to resemble the drifting trash of the Anthropocene. A predator shaped like a crumpled plastic sheet or a tangled fishing net, drifting aimlessly until something swims too close. In a world cluttered with our refuse, the most effective disguise wouldn't be invisibility. It would be looking like something inedible, something artificial. It's a chilling thought. The trash you see floating past might be watching you, waiting for the moment to strike. Or perhaps the arms race of optics will push vision to a terrifying new extreme. We might see the rise of the perfect observer, a predator with eyes that have abandoned the visible spectrum entirely, sensing the faint electromagnetic fields of living nerves or the heat signatures of struggling prey. In this future twilight, invisibility would be useless. You could be as clear as glass, but your beating heart would shine like a beacon in the dark. The horror of the mesopelagic is the realization that no matter how well you hide, something is always evolving a better way to find you. The darkness here isn't empty. It's a canvas where nature paints its most paranoid creations. As we drift deeper, the faint blue light finally begins to fail us. The sun is now just a memory, a distant dream that can no longer reach us. The creatures here are becoming stranger, their bodies warping to withstand the increasing crush of the ocean. The eyes that watched us in the twilight are fading away, replaced by other senses, other terrors. We are crossing the threshold into a world where light is not a gift from the sun, but a weapon wielded by the living. The invisibility cloaks of the mesopelagic are no longer needed because soon there will be nothing left to see. Prepare yourself because the rules of survival are about to change completely. We are leaving the twilight behind and plunging into the bathypelagic zone, the midnight zone. Here, the pressure is strong enough to crush a submarine like a soda can, and the darkness is absolute. In the next leg of our journey, you won't need to worry about casting a shadow, because there is no light to cast it. But don't relax just yet. In the eternal blackness below, the things that live there don't need eyes to find you. They have other ways, and they are very, very hungry. We have now crossed the final frontier of light. Welcome to the bathypelagic zone, the midnight zone, where the sun is nothing more than a rumor. We are between 1,000 and 4,000 meters deep, enveloped in a darkness so absolute it feels heavy, like a physical weight pressing against your eyes. Down here, the water is a chilly 4 degrees Celsius, but the cold is the least of your worries. The real killer here is the crushing hug of the ocean itself. You are now bearing the weight of kilometers of water stacked directly on top of your head, a pressure hundreds of times greater than at the surface. It is enough to compress a block of styrofoam into a thimble, enough to snap human bones like dry twigs. If you were outside, your lungs would collapse instantly, imploding under the sheer force of the deep. But life, stubborn and refusing to be crushed, has found a way to exist here. The creatures of the midnight zone have abandoned the blueprints of the surface world entirely. They have no air pockets, no swim bladders to be crushed, and barely any rigid bones to snap. Instead, they have become water itself. Their bodies are gelatinous, fluid-filled sacs that equalize with the pressure rather than fighting it. This is why deep-sea creatures look like melted wax monsters when we bring them up to the surface. They are literally held together by the pressure that would kill us. Down here, in their element, they are sleek and deadly, but to our eyes, they are the stuff of nightmares. Flabby, toothy horrors drifting in the eternal dark. In this lightless void, the rules of size and scale have been rewritten. This is the home of abyssal gigantism, a phenomenon where the darkness and cold seem to stretch life into monstrous proportions. Think of the colossal squid, growing to the size of a school bus, hunting with eyes the size of basketballs in a desperate attempt to catch the faintest glimpse of bioluminescence. Or giant isopods, pill bugs the size of a small dog, scuttling through the dark like armored tanks. Why do they get so big? Is it the efficient metabolism of the cold? Or is it simply that in a world without boundaries, there is nothing to stop you from growing until you become the biggest monster in the dark? Since eyes are nearly useless down here, evolution has turned to other, more terrifying senses. Imagine a predator that doesn't need to see you because it can feel the electricity of your nerves firing. Or a creature that hunts by detecting the microscopic pressure waves of your fins moving the water. In this silence, sound travels 4 times faster than in air, turning the ocean into a hypersensitive acoustic chamber. A scream here doesn't just travel. It ripples out for miles, announcing your location to everything hungry in the vicinity. You can't hide in the dark when the water itself is betraying your position. Let's speculate for a moment on what else might be evolving in this high-pressure crucible. If sound is so powerful here, could nature have weaponized it? Imagine a predator that has evolved to create cavitation bubbles, collapsing pockets of void that snap shut with the force of a pistol shot. A creature that doesn't bite you, but stuns you with a sonic blast from the darkness, rupturing your organs before you even know it's there. We know pistol shrimp can do this on a small scale, but in the deep, with giants roaming the black, who is to say there isn't a siren of the abyss capable of shouting its prey to death? The isolation of this zone breeds a kind of evolutionary madness. Without the cycles of day and night, without seasons, time effectively stops. Creatures here can live for centuries, drifting in a slow-motion existence, metabolisms ticking over barely faster than a stone. Some anglerfish fuse their bodies together, the tiny male biting into the female and dissolving until he is nothing but a pair of testicles attached to her side. A literal merging of flesh to ensure the survival of the species in a place where meeting another of your kind is a miracle. It is efficient, yes, but it is also a body horror that makes our worst movies look tame. And yet, despite the crushing weight and the monstrous adaptations, the most terrifying thing about the Midnight Zone is the silence. It is a silence that has lasted for millions of years, broken only by the snapping of jaws and the rush of water. We are interlopers here, fragile bags of gas and bone intruding on a world that was never meant for us. The creatures here are the true masters of the earth, claiming the vast majority of its habitable volume while we cling to the thin, sunny crust. They are the aliens we look for in the stars, living right beneath our feet. But even monsters have to eat, and in a place where no plants can grow, food is a rare and precious treasure. Everything here is waiting for a gift from above, a rain of death falling from the sunlit world. As we descend further, towards the very floor of the ocean, we will see where this rain lands. We are heading to the abyssal plain, the graveyard of the ocean, where the dead go to feed the living. The pressure is about to get even worse, and the hunger down there is eternal. Finally, our descent slows, and we touch down on the very bottom of the world. Welcome to the abyssal plain, a vast, silent mudflat that stretches across more of the Earth's surface than all the continents combined. It is a landscape of endless monotony, a desert of gray sludge composed of the dust of eons. Down here, there are no seasons, no weather, and no sunlight. It is a place of profound stillness, where a single footprint could last for 1,000 years. You might think it looks dead, but look closer at the mud. It is crawling with life. Sea cucumbers, brittle stars, and strange worms, all sifting through the sediment for the tiniest scrap of nutrition. This is the ultimate recycling plant of our planet, the final resting place for everything that dies in the ocean above. For millions of years, life here has been a game of patience. The residents of the plains wait for marine snow, a gentle, never-ending blizzard of dead plankton, fecal matter, and organic dust drifting down from the surface miles above. But the real jackpot, the event every scavenger dreams of, is a whale fall. When a whale dies and sinks, it hits the bottom like a biological bomb, delivering more food in a single day than these creatures usually see in a millennium. It creates a pop-up city of scavengers, hagfish tying themselves in knots to tear off flesh, bone-eating worms dissolving the skeleton, a frenzy of life that can last for decades. It is a feast of death, the one time the abyss feels truly alive. But recently, the menu has changed. The snow falling from above isn't just organic anymore. It is mixed with a new, synthetic ingredient that never existed before in the history of the Earth. We are talking about plastic. Microplastics, synthetic fibers, and chemical residues are raining down into the deep, settling into the mud and changing the very chemistry of the abyss. And this is where our story takes a dark, speculative turn. Nature, as terrifying as it is also incredibly adaptable. What happens when you flood an ecosystem with a new, energy-rich carbon source, even if it is toxic to everything else? You might just birth a new kind of monster. Imagine a future where the scavengers of the deep have evolved to eat our trash. Picture vast, pulsating mats of bacteria that have learned to break down polyethylene, spreading across the ocean floor like a living oil slick. Or perhaps a new species of crustacean, blind and pale, with specialized gut enzymes that allow it to digest the plastic bottles and bags that drift down from our cities. These wouldn't be the majestic monsters of the deep we admire. They would be the plastic eaters, sluggish, unnatural things thriving on the garbage we thought we had thrown away. But as we know, on a round planet, there is no away. This is the horror of the Anthropocene reaching the bottom of the sea. It's the idea that we have inadvertently created a new, synthetic ecosystem that no longer needs the sun or the natural cycles of the Earth. These creatures would be the children of our pollution, a grim reflection of our own excess staring back at us from the dark. Imagine a crab that doesn't look for dead fish, but fights over a discarded tire, its shell hardening not with calcium, but with the polymers it consumes. It creates an uncanny valley of nature, life that is technically alive, but feels wrong, distorted, and deeply artificial. As these new scavengers flourish, they might begin to outcompete the old ones. The delicate balance of the deep-sea floor could be overturned, replaced by a robust, trash-hungry hierarchy. We might look down one day and find that the pristine, ancient mud of the abyss has been replaced by a writhing layer of these synthetic eaters, slowly turning the ocean floor into a digestion tank for human history. It is a chilling thought. The only things that might remember us after we are gone are the monsters we fed with our waste. The abyssal plain is a place of slow, creeping change, a graveyard that is beginning to stir with new, uncomfortable life. It is a vast, flat expanse of silence, but it is not the end of our journey, because the ocean floor is not unbroken. In certain places, the crust of the Earth has cracked open, tearing deep, jagged wounds into the planet's skin. These are the trenches, the Hadal Zone, where the ocean goes deeper than deep. We are leaving the plains behind now, steering our vessel toward the edge of one of these great underwater canyons. The ground beneath us is dropping away again, plunging into a black void that makes the abyssal plain look like shallow water. Down there, in the belly of the trenches, life doesn't just survive pressure and cold. It survives isolation so complete it might as well be on another planet. We are about to enter the vents of madness, where the rules of biology are rewritten by fire and brimstone. Hold on tight, we are going to the very bottom. We have crossed the threshold into the underworld. This is the Hadal Zone, named after Hades himself, and looking out the viewport you can see why. We are 6,000 meters down, descending into the open wounds of the Earth's crust. These are the trenches, the subduction zones where tectonic plates grind together and the planet tries to swallow its own skin. It is a violent, unstable place, a geological battlefield where earthquakes are born. And yet, in the middle of this freezing, crushing dark, we see something impossible. Ahead of us, rising like chimneys from hell, are the black smokers, hydrothermal vents spewing superheated, mineral-rich water into the abyss. It is an oasis of fire in a desert of ice. Stop and really look at what is happening here. The water coming out of those vents is hot enough to melt lead, charged with sulfides and heavy metals that would be instantly toxic to you and me. By all logic, this should be a dead zone, a sterile scar on the ocean floor. But it is teeming with life. Massive colonies of giant tube worms, red-tipped and swaying like fields of alien wheat, cluster around the boiling jets. Ghostly white crabs scramble over each other, farming bacteria on their hairy claws. This is an ecosystem that breaks the golden rule of biology. It doesn't need the sun. These creatures are powered by the earth itself, fueling their bodies with chemical energy in a process called chemosynthesis. They are the only things on this planet that are truly independent of the solar system. Think about the implications of that for a second. If the sun were to suddenly go out tomorrow, freezing the surface and killing every plant, animal, and human up there, these creatures wouldn't even notice. They are living in a separate timeline, a biological bubble that has likely existed for billions of years, completely uninterrupted by the chaos above. The dinosaurs rose and fell, meteors struck, and ice ages came and went, and through it all, the residents of the vents just kept eating, growing, and thriving. In a way, they are the true owners of this planet. We are just the temporary tenants of the unstable roof. But what happens when life is left alone for that long? Evolution on the surface is driven by change, seasons, disasters, competition. But down here, stability is the rule. In this eternal, unchanging environment, could evolution have taken a different, stranger path? Let's speculate. What if, in the isolation of these trenches, life has evolved not towards size or speed, but towards connection? Imagine a hive mind of the deep, a network of simple organisms linked together by chemical signals, thinking as one vast, distributed brain across the trench floor. A consciousness that spans miles, calculating, remembering, and waiting in the dark. We assume intelligence needs a brain like ours, wrapped in a skull and firing electrical impulses. But down here, intelligence might look like a chemical cloud, a thermal network, or a vibrating web of fungal threads. These creatures might communicate through heat pulses or the taste of the water, sharing information instantly across the colony. If you look into the waving mass of tube worms, are you looking at thousands of individual animals, or are you looking at the fingers of a single, sleeping god? It's a cosmic horror thought. Perhaps the smartest thing on Earth isn't us. Perhaps it's a billion-year-old slime mold at the bottom of the Mariana Trench that just hasn't bothered to talk to us yet. These are the ancient slumbers. They have seen continents drift apart and collide again. They are the biological constants in a chaotic world. And there is something deeply unsettling about that stability. It suggests that while we rush around building cities and fighting wars, terrified of our own fragility, there is something down here that is immortal. They are waiting out the clock. They know that eventually, the surface will burn or freeze again, and when it does, they will still be here, huddled around their black fires, the silent witnesses to our extinction. The vents of madness challenge everything we think we know about life. They prove that the normal world, the green, sunlit world, is actually the anomaly. The universe is mostly cold, dark, and toxic, just like this trench. We are the freaks living in the rare, fragile bubble of safety. Down here, looking at these alien towers, you realize that Earth isn't really our planet at all. It belongs to the things that can survive the dark. And as we prepare to leave, to ascend back to our precarious little world, you have to wonder. Are we leaving them behind, or are they simply watching us go, knowing we'll be back in the mud eventually? Our journey is ending. We have seen the deceptive mirror of the surface, the invisible ghosts of the twilight, the monsters of the midnight zone, and the plastic eaters of the plains. Now we have stared into the vents of the underworld. It is time to pull the lever, drop our ballast weights, and begin the long, slow climb back to the light. But as we rise, shedding the pressure atmosphere by atmosphere, remember this. The ocean is not empty. It is full, and it is waiting. And just like that, we are shooting back up, leaving the underworld behind. The pressure drops, the water warms, and the eternal blackness begins to thin into a deep, bruised purple. It is a disorienting feeling, rocketing toward the sky after staring into the face of the abyss. We are racing past the silent plains where the plastic eaters graze, past the midnight zone where gelatinous giants drift in the dark, and through the twilight where invisible eyes are still watching us go. It feels like waking up from a fever dream, a rapid ascent from a world that shouldn't exist, back to the one we think we understand. But as the first shafts of sunlight pierce the water above us, you have to ask yourself, which world is the real one? We spend billions of dollars pointing our telescopes at the stars, desperate to find evidence of alien life, terrified and excited by the idea that we might not be alone. But the irony is we have never been alone. We have been sharing this planet with aliens for hundreds of millions of years. We just didn't look down. The creatures we met today, the chemical-eating worms, the invisible phantoms, the crushing horrors, are as alien to us as anything we could find on Mars. They live in a universe right here on Earth, separated from us not by space, but by depth and pressure. We are neighbors who have never spoken, separated by a wall of water. As we break the surface and the fresh air hits our lungs, the sun feels different now, doesn't it? Feels smaller. We like to think of Earth as our planet, a blue marble designed for humans to build cities and grow crops on. But that is an arrogant lie we tell ourselves to feel important. The truth we found in the dark is that Earth is a water world, a deep, cold, high-pressure ocean that happens to have a few dry rocks sticking out of the top. We are the moss growing on those rocks, fragile and temporary, clinging to the thin rim of a cauldron that is teeming with monsters. The deep ocean is the rule. The surface is the exception. Think about the timeline. Long before the first amphibian dragged itself onto the mud, the deep sea was there, dark and waiting. And long after the last human has vanished, it will still be there. The continents will drift and crash, the sun will get hotter, the atmosphere will change. But the abyss doesn't care. The pressure down there will remain, the darkness will remain, and the creatures we saw today will keep evolving, keep eating, and keep surviving. They are the enduring legacy of this planet, the silent keepers of the dark who will inherit the Earth when we are gone. So what happens next? In 50 million years, what will the descendants of the tube worms or the gulper eels look like? Will they finally rise to claim the surface, or will they stay down there, building silent empires in the dark, forever indifferent to the sky? The monsters of the future are already swimming in the trenches today, waiting for their turn. It is a humbling, terrifying thought. The story of life on Earth isn't about us. We are just a subplot in a much older, much darker book that is being written in the cold ink of the deep sea. We are back on the boat now. The engines are humming, the seagulls are crying, and the water looks sparkling and blue again. It looks safe. It looks pretty. But you know better now. You know that this blue sheet is just a curtain, and you have seen what is moving behind it. You will never be able to look at the ocean the same way again, because you know that the serenity of the surface is a lie. The silence is a deception. The peace is a mask. The next time you stand on a beach and watch the waves roll in, remember the vents of madness. Remember the crushing weight of the midnight zone. Remember the eyes watching from the twilight. Do not let the sunlight fool you into thinking you are safe, or that you are alone. The world is deep, and it is full of teeth. We are just tourists here, floating on the skin of a beast that is sleeping beneath us. So look closely at the water. Watch the way the light dances on the waves, hiding the darkness below. Admire the beauty, respect the power, but never, ever forget the truth. The reflection you see is just the lid on a box of nightmares.